All right, tonight's show is, as I said, episode 90. The call number is 1-347-326-9626. I wanted to give a quick recognition to our sponsors, the Michigan Medical Marijuana Association. I want to give a thanks to all the administrators and moderators who have been working diligently in this time of transition, helping keep things smooth and really opening up the forums to what the MMA was intended to be, which is a portal of information for the medical marijuana community to learn and evolve the conversation, which is what we also try to do here on Planet Green Trees. Also, Comorran Law, 1-800-656-3557, and Green Thumb Garden Center, Ferndale, 248-439-1851. As I said, we got a very exciting show. As all of you know, there's a very, very trying time in the for the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act. The House Judiciary Committee has been working over the last several months. They've had hearings in the committee, and the bills have been advanced. And it looks like they're going to be coming up for votes soon. We're not exactly sure when, but we think it may be the 17th next week. And on the show is going to be two of the people that are going to be considering that vote. We've got Representative Fred Durhal and Representative Ellen Kogan-Lipton, both Democrats from the House of Representatives of Michigan. And we're going to have them on, ask them their thoughts, and hopefully have a good discussion with them and maybe convince them to see the Medical Marijuana Act and these proposed amendments the way that the community is perceiving them. I want to do a quick rant, talk about a couple of things, and then we can go to a break and we can get right back into it. As we move forward as a community, the medical marijuana community, there's a lot of challenges, as we know. We've got these bills that are pending that could have a tremendous impact on the way that patients and caregivers are protected in a lot of different areas. We have the McQueen decision that's before the Supreme Court of Michigan, which will have an impact on one of four identifiable types of transfers that are allowed under the Act, or recognized under the Act, I should say. The LARA has never functioned in the capacity that it's supposed to. The cards have always been laid. The conditions on the registry have not been added to, and there's still challenges as to the privacy of the registry list. And that's why I think moving forward from the MMA's perspective, I think it's a time to return to a way of thinking that was one of the original thoughts as to how the Medical Marijuana Act was going to work in Michigan. And what I'm proposing is the renaissance of the compassion clubs. The renaissance of the compassion clubs. I'm talking about a rebirth of a system that works and has always worked and will work regardless of political or judicial shenanigans. And we know that there's a political ping-pong ball that's being thrown around in the Court of Appeals, and many are optimistic in terms of what the Supreme Court is going to do. But nonetheless, I'm suggesting that the original, and I'm talking the original, I'm talking the old school Compassion Club, is a system that will work, and it will work regardless of political or judicial shenanigans. What am I talking about? Many of you may remember when the law was first passed, the question was, how is the community going to understand about it? How are they going to learn about it? How are they going to become educated about it? And how are we going to be able to spread the word of the cannabis plant and its medicinal value? Well, the Compassion Club model was set up to do that. And it was specifically designed as a support group that would meet monthly or as often as you might need in local communities to learn about the issues affecting the Michigan medical marijuana community and to promote the open exchange of ideas and information. This was to be done in public. It was to be done cannabis-free. Compassion clubs were not supposed to be used as any method for a direct transfer of medical cannabis or genetic material. The meetings were specifically and designed for official business, but of course, after the meetings, members of the Compassion Club could do whatever they wanted to, but the public forum was not the place by which medicine was going to be transferred. If you remember, it was a way that the attention that was brought to the medical marijuana community, what are they meeting about, would be found in a library, and they would hear words of cannabis patients telling of their testimonials of the healing properties of cannabis and for their condition. I know I used to go to compassion clubs and offer legal counsel and let people ask questions of how we were interpreting the act and what we anticipated would be safe or unsafe behavior. I remember hearing oftentimes and learning quite a bit about the, cultivating the cannabis plant. Oftentimes, was a tremendous resource for people to really gather the information necessary and actually have someone help you and assist you with many of the resources, both from education and the other things that are necessary to be a caregiver. Also, they provided a method for patients to find a caregiver for those that were interested. Members of the club would, of course, be able to connect those caregivers with patients and assist in the development of that relationship and even at times find the caregiver another patient or the patient another caregiver if it didn't work out. But it was done at a local level. It was done with the idea that we were going to deal with each individual patient or caregiver as an individual, and we were going to try to educate them and bring them into the know to understand the concept of a community of security, of how to speak and use words like cannabis instead of weed, and that we medicate instead of smoke, dope, or what have you. And it's not a party, it's medical. And these were the ways in which the original concepts began to unfold. And they served as a very, very vital part of the community in the first year, without a doubt. And for whatever reasons, there was not the, I would say, the evolution that was necessary for a number of different reasons. And we are where we are now. And that's not to blame how we got here, but it's to more importantly point out that that system worked. That system worked. It allowed for the community to evolve. And when I say that we need a rebirth, I don't say without thinking about and trying to design some concepts moving forward of how the compassion clubs can operate today, how they can function, how they can sustain their membership, and more than that, provide a tremendous resource to the medical marijuana community on a statewide basis. And what I'm talking about is this. Several individual clubs interconnected and at the statewide level, but getting the message of the events, information, and what needs to be known in the community around them, and providing the resources and the education and providing the setting up of the club and setting up the nonprofit status and providing organizational techniques, skills, how to get people together, how to advertise in reasonable ways so that you can generate a membership that will be able to sustain oneself. Now, knowing that to be the case, if this kind of program can be reborn, we know that it's a system that works when it's self-sustaining. But more importantly, in these next 6 months, 4 months, 6 months, it is from these groups that we are going to be able to do what is our ultimate goal, which is to make a difference in the upcoming election. That it is from this organizing statewide and getting the groups onto the same page and providing for the compassion clubs a directive slate of candidates who are medical marijuana friendly, and teaching how to canvass and teaching how to go door to door and promote. This is how grassroots organizations make a difference and make social change. And one of the things that, as we're throwing around ideas of support, is, of course, forming a committee of some kind that's going to be able to help manage this through the Michigan Medical Marijuana Association. Having a Compassion Club radio show where Compassion Club leaders that are in existence can call in and give advice and talk, and Compassion Clubs that are starting up can call in and hear, ask questions. And more importantly, that from a statewide level, every month, specific content can be offered up in this radio show, can be played at your own club, and it can also be something that can help educate your club members. I also see the development of these clubs being vital for all of the issues that are before us, especially on the organizing level. And we know that there's a number of issues that affect the medical cannabis community and beyond. And we're talking, of course, about the repeal effort and, of course, forfeiture laws and reform, and the list goes on and on. So, at a minimum, I think as an organization, as the Michigan Medical Marijuana Association moves forward, I want members, those that participate in the discussion, to think about this, to think about stepping forward and becoming a Compassion Club leader, to really understanding what it takes to be a Compassion Club leader. It's not about making money. It's about supporting a club that needs a unified, educated resource for information and beyond. And when I say that it will survive political or judicial shenanigans, I mean that, because no matter what happens and however the law changes, that model done in public education and support in private, the things that need to be done in private, will not be affected by any of the changes that are happening. And it's from these support clubs that we will be able to maintain a community of medical marijuana patients and caregivers that don't have to be afraid and don't have to be in fear. So that's something to think about for moving forward. Call it the rebirth of the Compassion Club. Although I'm not opposed to changing the name, and but I do think that it is a sustainable system, and we should start reconsidering that.
Sounds wonderful. It's a true fallback position. No matter what happens, we can always make sure that patients and caregivers have what they need through the system.
I think it's proven by those compassion clubs that have stayed in existence throughout everything, and when they were hanging out there through some of the toughest of times, the patients still had some place to go, and they still are invaluable, and to bring them back makes a lot of sense.
When you're looking at the law right now, where there's no single location where you can find out exactly what all the subtleties and nuances are based on court cases that have been resolved, there's a lot of fear regarding pending legislation. The compassion clubs were always the best source of information for that, because there were always one or two activists that would consistently be on top of it. And when you have that type of a resource, people stay out of jail. And that's really what it's about.
And having the MMMA and these radio programs is a central resource for that, where the community can come together and contribute and really create the programming that is needed for a Compassion Club. Really helps to lessen the burden on the Compassion Club leader. Mm-hmm. That's, the time that's necessary for organizing these clubs is, it depends on how far you go with it, of course, but it can be substantial in some cases. So a lightening of that load and still making sure that you've got a consistent perspective for the patients is a great service, I think.
We've had leaders being built over the last 3 years, and now is the time for all those people that maybe participated early and then dropped off to return back to service. Our people need this just as much now as we did in 2009 or as we did in 2010. And in fact, in some cases, our community needs even more support.
Very well said, Rick. And I should mention now joining us, Rick Thompson, of course, and Christine Beebe. Thank you for being here, patient and writer, working with Red Dog on his case documentation, I understand. And Mike, welcome.
Thank you, Michael.
We're going to take a quick break. We can come back and and I understand that Christine, of course, works with our good friend Sharmi with the Moms United Against the Drug War, which is a great organization. We appreciate all the hard work that organization does, and Sharmi's hard work as well. I want to take a quick break, and we're going to come back and get right back into and get ready for our guests. So we're going to be right back.